Just as jazz music was born in America, St. Petersburg is one of its many nurseries. The city has a rich history of cultivating jazz music and some of its most memorable musicians, from members of the Duke Ellington Band to the legendary Al Downing and Ernie Calhoun. Learn why the jazz scene is still very much alive and well in St. Petersburg.
1, 2, 1, 2, 1.
Well, what made me very interested in jazz music all this time from elementary school is the fun of it, being able to create sounds that work together, make music. I just love music.
I'm obsessed with jazz. It's excellent. For me, it's kind of the style of music that sums up everything.
Oh, it's an important art form because it was born in America. It was born out of oppression and the desire of people to express themselves.
The Al Downing Tampa Bay Jazz Association was started by Al Downing, and it was his vision to have a organization that would promote jazz because he was really a great jazz musician. He was a pianist, an organist, and he wanted to have an organization that represented jazz in this area. We give concerts, we promote jazz, we try to let other people know about what's happening in the Tampa Bay area in jazz.
Well, the Al Downing Tampa Bay Jazz Association has enabled me to meet other musicians, other jazz musicians, and we collectively have drawn and we've played all over the area.
Well, the Manhattan Casino actually started in 1938, I believe. In my own mind, this is where jazz sort of originated on the west coast of Florida in the Manhattan Casino. Back in the late 40s, early 50s, they had a regular jazz jam session here at the Manhattan Casino every Sunday. So when we reopened it, we thought that a natural attraction would be to have jazz played and performed again at the Manhattan Casino like it was over 60 or 70 years ago.
When I was a kid growing up in St. Petersburg, my family lived 2 blocks south of the Manhattan Casino. And the experience I had listening to music Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and Saturday nights, this was every week. Of course, there were other clubs in the area, but the Manhattan Casino was the only place a lot of the big bands at that time, Duke Ellington, James Brown, and this is the only place they could come to play because it was segregation at that time. The Manhattan Casino was the place to come.
Do you realize how many musicians came out of this area and how many entertainers came into this area, from to St. Petersburg? And this building that we're in right now housed, some amazing concerts done in the past. And they're just beginning to pull this information out and let people know about it, that this was a very, very popular place. It was a place that when musicians came to town, a lot of them African-American musicians, they might play downtown, but this is where they ended up. When all was said and done, they came to the Manhattan Casino. Jazz Jam is where you start out with a core group, a rhythm section and sometimes one musician, and then anyone who wants to come and sit in, and anyone who wants to come to sit in is allowed to come.
In the old days, the jam session was a school. There weren't as many jazz courses being offered at universities, and so this was a place where, well, in my own case, a piano player used to write out the chord changes to songs on napkins and give them to me.
Usually in the jazz jams, there is a melody that one plays, and the chord changes to that melody. It's almost like a puzzle that you fit into each song. What makes jazz a little unique from other forms is the creativity inside the music. You get a chance to compose as you're performing. That's very, very hard to do. Just like painting a picture in sound.
The improvisational element is much stronger in jazz. There are other musics in which there are elements of improvisation, but within jazz, it is the main course of the evening, so to speak.
Honestly, it's a really intense sensation when I'm playing, especially in a jazz jam. And it's hard to describe unless you're another musician, and that's kind of the cool thing about the jazz community, is that we can say, man, that was such a good song, man, you played so good, and we understand what we're talking about, you know. And I think, in a way, the audience can experience some of what I'm speaking about, you know. If they don't know much about music, or even if they do, they're not on stage, but they can appreciate what we're doing on stage and the interaction between the musicians on stage.
Jazz is so complex, and I think it's true musicians that play it, and every song that you hear is going to be different. And the next time that you hear that same song, it's going to be different because it's all about the interpretation of the music.
It's wonderful because you hear extremely wonderful musicians, and then you hear those who are trying to get to that place.
With all of those years of experience, we get up on stage and we can improvise. And I think a lot of people are surprised by that, you know, that's something that we just do. Obviously, it's not easy, and, you know, it gets easier, I guess, as you go on, but that's the challenge, that's the joy of playing jazz.
A lot of great musicians came out of this area, Tampa as well as St. Petersburg, and all over the place.
Well, it's a part of its history to me, and it's part of what makes St. Petersburg and the west coast of Florida great, really. You know, it's just part of the cultural heritage of the area, and in my mind, to keep it going is the right thing to do.
It's important to have jazz in the Tampa Bay area because it's a classic American art form.
There's a lot special about the jazz scene here in St. Petersburg. We've got 2-3 nights a week where there's a jazz jam session somewhere.
I feel that jazz should be heard everywhere, but St. Pete has a lot to offer in terms of an artistic atmosphere, good audiences, venues that are more open to using eclectic types of music. So it's a great place to play.
I'm the happiest when I play jazz. You know, I feel a connection. You know, it's a deep connection. I can kind of turn off my head. You know, I don't have to think so critically. You know, I can just play and get into the music and feel free and let go.
Jazz started early on in this country, and we should continue it. Some art forms have a passing fancy, so to speak, but jazz keeps going, and we're trying to keep that going. That's one of our goals is to perpetuate jazz.
To learn more, visit aldowningjazz.com.